Zionists and Nazis have always been buddy-buddy since the beginning of Nazis and Zionism. I'll read you a little more from my book. Genocide Bad, Notes on Palestine, Jewish History, and Collective Liberation, coming in March from Interlink Press, the only Palestinian-owned publisher in the U.S. Zionists were on strikingly good terms with the Nazi Party throughout the 1930s. Historian Joseph Mossad details the extent of their collaboration. In 1935, the German Zionist branch was the only political force that supported the Nazi Nuremberg laws in the country and was the only party still allowed to publish its own newspaper, the Rundschau, until after Kristallnacht in 1938. Nazi officials would visit Palestine as guests of the Zionists in 1934 and in 1937. So yeah, basically, as the Nazi Party takes power in Germany, Zionists were like the pick-me Jews, being like, we agree that Jews should get out of Germany. We're going to help you do that. And here's how. Back to the book. In 1933, Zionists struck a deal with Nazi Germany called the Havara Agreement. The Nazi Party at this time was facing a global Jewish-led boycott of its goods, one that had cut German exports to the U.S. by over 70% and was a significant concern for the Nazi Party leadership. The source I cite there, you can see there are memos within the Nazi Party talking about the, economic fears about the impact of the Jewish boycott. The Havara Agreement broke this boycott, allowing German Jews seeking to flee the Nazi regime to move to Palestine, provided that they first purchase essential goods manufactured in Germany and had them shipped to Palestine in advance of their departure. By 1939, 105 million marks worth of German goods were imported to Palestine under this program. In today's US dollars, that's close to $800 million of Jewish wealth that was transferred into the Nazi-controlled German economy by the Havara Agreement. Now here come all the Zionists in the comments ready to argue with me that the Havara Agreement was a necessary evil. I've got an answer for you. Nowadays, Zionists justify Havara and the breaking of the Jewish boycott as a necessary evil motivated purely by a desire to help German Jews escape Hitler's clutches. But as Mossad points out, the idea that Zionists were so concerned with the fate of German Jews does not square with the facts that during Nazi rule, Jews from Britain and the United States were given priority by the Zionists over German Jews for immigration to Palestine. Indeed, 2/3 of German Jewish applicants to immigrate to Palestine were turned down by the Zionists, end quote. Granted, Zionists in Palestine could not have accepted everyone, even if they wanted to, as Palestine was still under the British mandate. Britain set quotas for immigration that became severely limited after 1936, when Britain sought to quell tensions between the influx of recently arrived Jewish European immigrants and Palestinians. However, throughout the 1930s, Zionists gave thousands of these limited slots away to applicants from the US and the UK. Those Western Jews were not in immediate danger of anti-Semitic violence the way Jews in Nazi Germany were, but they better met the Zionist criteria of young, able-bodied, Hebrew-speaking, and independently wealthy applicants, right? So everyone in the 1930s knows what the Nazi Party is up to and threatening Jews with in Germany. And in Palestine, the Brits say to the Zionists, okay, you can allow some Jews to enter, and you guys are in charge of picking who you want to come. And those Zionists in Palestine give away thousands of slots to Jews from the UK and the US who aren't in any danger of violence if they were young and Hebrew speaking and wealthy and better met those criteria, leaving the German Jews to twist in the wind, right? Okay, back to the book. Do many nation states to this day employ classist, eugenicist, and white supremacist immigration requirements? Of course. In 2018, Trump notoriously questioned why the U.S. should accept immigrants from shithole countries in Africa as he pursued policies of closing U.S. borders to anyone from the global south. Immigration policies the Democrats under Joe Biden continued. So it's not surprising that early Zionists had racist, classist, eugenicist priorities when it came to immigration as well. But these features prove that they were more motivated by those concerns than by a desire to save all their Jewish brethren from the threat of Nazism. From there, I go on in the chapter to explain how Zionists schemed to destroy Jewish communities and safety in many different countries throughout the Middle East where Jews were coexisting peacefully with their Muslim neighbors. But you'll have to pre-order the book to read the rest of that chapter. It's a banger. And yesterday, a bunch of people let me know that there was like a smear campaign going around and people calling me a grifter for writing this book. So let me just address that real quick. I was asked to write this book by Hannah Mushabek of the Mushabek family, which owns Interlink Books, the only Palestinian-owned publisher in the US. The whole book was Hannah's idea, and it was an honor to be asked to write it. But from the moment I wrote it, I knew that eventually this like charge would come up that I was like trying to grift off of Palestinians. Hannah also said in her first email to me, it was very important to me that they pay me industry standard royalties. Writing a book is labor. I've been working every spare minute on this book for the 5 months now. And all I've been paid for that so far is half of a $3,500 advance. I will get the other half of that $3,500 upon payment. But that's the only compensation I've gotten for 5 months of full-time, like every spare second I've been working on this book. For every sale of Genocide Bad, the publisher owns 93% of the book, and I own 7% of the book. That's for the paperbacks. For the hardcover special edition, the margins are a little better on those hardcovers, so we're able to donate fully 10% to the Middle East Children's Alliance, which does amazing work for kids in Palestine. And then I still get my 7%, and Interlink then gets 83%. Interlink has chosen to invest in me and has seen value in this project. And I am going to continue pushing the book because I hope to make them a good return on their investment. The book was also fact-checked in part by Rashid Khalidi and in full by Dr. Nadim Bawalsa, the associate editor of the Journal of Palestine Studies. I don't think that these preeminent globally recognized Palestinian scholars would have invested in this book if I was a grifter. That's frankly insulting to them. It's insulting to the Mushabek family as well. The way the margins work out, I get a little bit more than $1 off of each of these books once I earn out my advance, which again is $3,500. So once I've made $3,500 in royalties, then I will start getting royalty checks from that point on. In order for me to make anything approaching minimum wage for this book, we would have to sell tens of thousands of copies. So far, we've sold, I think pre-orders are around 3,000 copies. So we're a long way away from me even making minimum wage. I think my goal is to sell the amount of this book to 1% of my following, which would be around 5,000 copies because I have 500,000 followers. That would probably be enough to get us on some bestseller lists. Again, publishing is like not that many people buy books, guys. No one's making a lot of money off of publishing, especially not publishing scholarly books about Palestine. So again, because I get a little over $1 a book, if we sold 5,000 copies, which is my goal, then I would get a little less than $5,000 after taxes. And that's going to be for 5 months of intensive labor, writing and editing it. And then however many months I'm going to be making all the social media content, trying to get word of the book out there. So if I'm a grifter, I'm like the worst grifter in the world. Writing a scholarly book about Palestine has got to be one of the worst get-rich-quick schemes I can imagine. And people who are repeating this, that I'm a grifter, like, if you're trying to prevent people from stopping the book for that reason, like, for every book you prevent someone from buying, you're hurting me 7% of the sale of that book. You're hurting the publisher, which is Palestinian owned, 93% of the sale of that book. You know what I'm saying? So help me make Interlink a good return on their investment in me and pre-order Genocide Bad. You'll find links to do that anywhere in the world in my bio. This Is Love Bookshop is a Black-owned independent bookstore in the UK that will ship it anywhere in the world. And there are other, at the second link in my bio where it says indie bookstores that will ship anywhere, you can find a bookstore closer to your region that may ship to you as well.